Hello and welcome to a cross-examination masterclass, how to expose lies and control the witness in employment litigation. If you're a plaintiff or a plaintiff-side attorney or even a savvy layperson, you know that cross-examination can make or break an employment case, and this is the moment of truth, so where liars get exposed and the stories just unravel in front of a jury. So think over discrimination, retaliation, or wrongful termination trials. Often it's your client's word against a polished company line, and the cross-examination is your chance to turn the table. And in this session, I'm going to share a deep insider tactics for dominating in cross-examination litigation. So not the same old just surface level tips. We are just going to beyond the basics, and you will hear about real courtroom moments with details just changed to protect the not so innocent, just clever psychological ploys and just strategic traps that most defense lawyers never see coming. And we will cover everything from the preparation, tactical execution to the witness control and creating killer contradictions, using documents as a weapons, and timing your gotcha moments for maximum jury impact, and all delivered with a sharp edge and a dash of humor and just gritty realism of the courtroom. So grab your notepad and maybe some popcorn. By the end of this 30-minute masterclass, you will know how to expose lies and control even the most hostile witnesses, and maybe enjoy yourself just doing it. And just let's dive in. Preparation is the first thing, as just laying the trap before a trial is the number one. So they say cross-examination is one before even step into a courtroom. So preparation is truly just the using hero just in a cross-examination success. And in employment case, that means that building your trap just early in depositions, in discovery, and in your just trial prep. And it means just hear how to lay groundwork. So it means, first of all, know your case and just your story just inside out. It's just most people not realize it just well enough, but this sounds obvious, and it's more than memorizing facts. So you need to internalize the story of the case, and especially the parts that defense will lie or refute about. And it's an employment in employment trial, so that the story often just centers on the employer's stated reason for firing or mistreating your client just versus the real reason. And just was the plaintiff ostensibly just fired for performance, but actually because they got pregnant or reported harassment. And so map out these fault lines in the narrative. Your cross will exploit there mercilessly. And second thing is the most important too. So identify each witness's just role and goal. As every witness on the stand has a purpose, and just are the decision maker who fired the plaintiff, the HR rep who handled, or a burrito complaint, or a corporate executive just giving the official story. So categorize your witnesses and decide your goal for each. Some you need to put in a box, just limit their testimony to only what they actually know, and highlighting what they don't know. And others you might aim to utterly just discredit, and occasionally a witness like a low-level HR person just could surprisingly just give you favorable nuggets. And if you treat them right, we will get you just to the sneaky tactic later. Deposition just mined for contradictions and admissions, as you know, and the solid deposition is a gold mine for a cross. So lock the witnesses into their story under oath, and just when the pressure is lower, ask just all the critical questions. So the only reason you fired my client was the performance, correct? Get the absolute answer. And often a lying witness will confidentially just double down in deposition, thinking that they can explain it away later. Perfect. So they are going to use that overconfidence against them at a trial, and mark every inconsistency, just every shaky answer, and this will become your cross-exam ammunition. And when you attack, just outline and check it twice. So great cross-examiners don't just wing it, and before a trial prepare a detailed cross-exam outline and for each witness, but not just a script to recite robotically. Think of it as a roadmap with a flexibility, but for example, let's consider Bart Williams, a renowned trial lawyer. So he suggests that making a short, just must-hit list of a key facts, not sit down just without establishing. So he literally just tapes 5x7 cards inside his notebook with 5 to 7 crucial points and checks it during cross. And it's a smart move. It ensures that you cover your highest priorities and show the jury that you're sympathetic and just won't miss a thing. And make your own just list and no written warnings given. HR just didn't follow the policy and the manager changed his story, etc. And plan to hit them all. So basically, you should anticipate evasions and just prepare to pounce. And as you plan, imagine how the witnesses might try to wiggle out, a lying supervisor just might try to add a context or just a shifty blame, and an HR rep might suddenly have no recollection of the key events, and for each key question have follow-ups or documents just ready when not if they dodge. And cross-exam prep is like a chess game, as if they say X, I will respond with Y, and if they say that, I will show them exhibit 12. So you are setting the traps and you're just outlining ready to spring. Logistics is another just valuable thing, and just exhibits and tag. So nothing's worth that a dramatic moment just running by hunting for an exhibit or a tag failure. Organize your evidence, just binder for each witness, and the depositions, transcripts with pages flagged, and the key witness exhibits, and impeachment material, just all at your fingertips. And if you plan to show documents or a video in court, so task the tag in advance. And as one plaintiff's lawyer noted, that proper planning prevents a poor performance, especially with technology. A seamless preparation just keeps the jury focused on the witness discomfort, not you're just fumbling, and always just have a plan B. So if the projector fails, have a proper copies just ready to hand out just to the jurors. And this way, when you're in the heart of the cross, and the visuals just flow smoothly, and every juror literally sees the evidence of the lie. And of course, there can be a psychological recon. So if you have intel on the witness personality, just use it. Something it pays, and to role play the cross in advance. And some trial lawyers just even use psychodrama, just techniques, just acting out a witness to predict the reactions. And if the witness is quick-tempered, just overconfident, so easily flustered, tailor your approach accordingly. So, for example, if you discover a depot that the defense medical expert is a runaway witness who gives a long speeches, just plan to file a motion to limit, to cut off just narrative answers, and just remind the judge and the trial that this expert just need to stick to a Q&A. And this way, by the time you stand up to a cross, this expert, the judge, and everyone knows the drill. And you ask just tightly crafted questions, and the witness should answer only what you asked. Preparation isn't just for content, so it's also procedural and strategic. In short, so the battle is won in a war just before the courtroom, and do the homework, and just to know the case cold. So set your traps and plan your moves. When you finally say good afternoon, miss witness, so in a trial you should already feel these steps ahead. And controlling the witness, also knowing who is the boss, it's you. It's my hint. So cross-examination is a controlled demotion, and just control being the operative word. So your job is to be the boss and just to witness in a courtroom, especially when the witness is a hostile or lying. And in employment cases, you will often just face a manager or executive who is being prepped to stick to the company script at all costs, and they might be evasive, combative, and even arrogant. And this section is all just about the witness control, as a bending the witness or to your will procedurally or of course, and just making their tricks backfire. So rule number one is that you talk, they listen. Cross is not just a dialogue or debate, so it's a series of carefully crafted statements just coming out of your mouth and just with the witness hopefully just granting yes or no. And that means just ask only leading questions. You supply the proposition and they agree or deny, and no open-ended questions, and no why did you, that would give them control. As one litigator put it, just leading questions allow you to control all questions and just the witness time on the stand. So you want the witness just hammed into yes or no, and every time you let them explain, you surrender in the driver's seat. Rule number two is that one fact just per question. Keep each question just short and simple, and a single fact just whether possible. And long compound questions are an invitation for a witness to choose which part they want to answer or twist. And short questions with one new fact just each gives them no wiggle room. For example, so you were just Jane, director, supervisor, correct? Yes. And you give her a proposition evaluation in 2021, so yes. And you never warned her of any performance problems in 2021. Well, yeah. And we will deal with in a second. And the point is, keep it just bite-sized and laser focused. That this also just makes it easier for a jury to follow logically, just step by step. Rule number three is that never ask what you don't know, so unless it doesn't matter. So the classic is a commandment. So never ask a question to which you don't know the answer. And just you are probably heard that, and it's generally true. Cross is not the time to fish, so surprises are for you to spring, and not the witnesses. However, here is an advanced caveat. So credit to Professor just Irving Younger, and you can ask a question you don't know, and the answer to, and if the answer is truly doesn't matter. So in other words, either yes or no will serve your purpose. And for instance, you might ask a hostile manager, isn't it true you never documented a single one of those supposed complaints about the plaintiff? And if they say, no, I didn't document, that's great. And they admit no documentation. And if they try, so actually I didn't document it. Well, no such document was proposed. So you are ready to pounce it with, and please show us just because it's not evidence. And if they hedge, they look shifty, either way, so you win as long as you prepare for both answers. And this tactic is for when you have a win-win question. So use sparingly, but it can just catch a witness off guard just because they expect you to avoid the unknowns, and they are just thinking that they wouldn't just ask. And that if they hadn't have me either way. So exactly. So set the tone, start soft just usually, and many rookie lawyers just change it in like a bulldog just from questions one, but big mistake. So in a civil case, especially employment disputes, you have to earn the jury's trust before going to the jugular, and often the witness. So say a company's VP just comes off as a polite or likable or direct, and if you stand up and immediately just sneak them and bark at them, just juror might think, geez, why is this lawyer just being such a jerk? And the witness doesn't just seem so bad. So the expert Bart Williams note that that's rare, and is a witness you should attack from the get-go, and instead just start with tone of respect and courtesy, at least initially. You can be firm but polite. Good afternoon, Mr. CEO. I appreciate you being here. So this disarms them and makes you look reasonable. As you begin, ask a few questions. You know the witness just must answer in your favor, or at least objectively. So, for example, you were a Jane supervisor from 2018 to 2021, correct? Yes. You met all expectations in your 2022 review. True? Yes, according to the doc. And these early concessions not only establish important facts, they also make you look fair. And one prosecutor advises just start with points. The witness can't just deny each yes answer, boxes them in the further and just build them the squirm factor for when you later confront them with on the tough stuff. And by the time you do turn the heat up and the jury just is on you, on your side, because you gave the witness a chance to cooperate, and they either just did good for you or they started to resist without a good reason, making them look bad. Another thing is hold the steering wheel tight. No matter how polite your tone, never let the witness just wrest control of the narration. So some witnesses will try to explain everything, just wander off topic or argue with your premise. And this is where your discipline and quick reflexes pays off. So if you get an unresponsive or rambling answer, immediately intervene. So you have a tools. Repeat the question calmly, word for word. And after just asking again and again signals to the jury that the witness is dodging and it's gentle but big proud. So I will ask again, maybe you misheard. Did you send that email on June 5th and the subtext to everyone? So he is avoiding. Pin them down. And if repeating just fails, you can sharpen. It's a real just yes or no question, sir. Did you or did you not inform HR about the complaint? And sometimes I will just add, so perhaps I wasn't clear, just I will rephrase then delivering just even more leading question, and you never told HR, correct? So call out the dodge just professionally, and one advanced move used by some cross-examiners is to politely confront the evasion. As for example, so Mr. Witness, I understand you have a lot of what you want to say, but trust me, we will get to it. Right now, please, just answer my specific question. Repeat the question. And another example. So with a mild tone of exasperation, is something preventing you from answering yes or no? And if you remember, just answer yes or no. And I will just even heard a lawyer just ask, do you need a moment to review the question so you can answer it directly? So said it very politely, which made the witness look really foolish for not answering. And these tactics just send a clear message to the jury. This witness is being difficult and the lawyer is just trying to get to the truth. So use the judge as a last resort. If, let's say, a witness repeatedly defines the yes-no format, don't hesitate to gently just enlist the judge as a simple, Your Honor, could you insist that the witness to just answer my question will usually do? And most judges will tell the witness, please answer the question that was asked. And this not just only forces the answer, it's also flags to the jury that the witness was out of line and you're just effectively attached in. And the reference to a call, just a fall on a witness, and of course, just one little pro tip, don't overdo this. If you jump to the judge for every minor quibble, so you look weak or petulant, so save it for a serious obstinance. One key still here, so know when to shut up. After you ask a question, do not feel a silence. Hostile witnesses sometimes literally won't answer, and hoping you will get uncomfortable, just let move. And don't. So embrace the awkward silence. Look at them expectantly and just count to 10 in your head if you must. And this can be incredibly just powerful. So I've seen a stubborn executive and a calm just cross-examiner just stare at each other for what felt like an eternity just in a courtroom until the judge broke in, Mr. So-and-so, You need to answer the question. The witness, red-faced, finally just muttered an answer, and the jury was dead, silent, just thrived, and who looked like they were hiding something in that scenario. So not the lawyer, and that moment won the trial. So be more patient than the liar. As one cross-examination just expert advises that hold your ground, don't just move on to the next question if the witness hasn't just answered. And let the silence and the tension just work on them. They will squirm, the jurors just will notice, and eventually just either the witness caves on the judge, forces them to all just while you stand there, just looking calm and resolute. So now controlling a witness isn't just about a force, it's about fineness. So recall, we said start nice. You catch more files just with the only just any vinegar. So especially in the front of a jury, you want to be seen as a reasonable person in a room, firm but fair, just trying to get the facts. And that means no shouting, just no mocking, unless maybe the witness truly deserves it, and you can just pull off just with a charm. And if the witness just gets snarky, you stay cool. And if they raise their voice, you might even lower yours. Always imagine a juror thinking, one of these two people is acting like an idiot, and the other is like defensive liar. You want to be an adult, not an idiot. Example: controlling a defensive manager. In this scenario, so let me illustrate with a composite just example. I once crossed a manager in a retaliation case who really just didn't want to admit any wrongdoing. We started slow. I got him to concede that the client has been a good employee. Just he reluctantly agreed that your performance was initially good. I saw the defensiveness building, and he was just gearing up to dump on her just to justify the firing. And when I transitioned to the tough question, you never gave me any written just warning, did you? And he started just launching into speeches. And, well, you have to understand, in our company we have a culture of blah, blah, blah. And he wasn't just answering yes or no. And I smiled and cut it. Just, excuse me, I apologize for interrupting. My question was specific. Did you document any performance issues, yes or no? And he tried just evading again. We discussed things verbally. I repeated the question. It's a yes or no. Did you document anything? And he finally admitted no. That no was gold, and the exact admission I needed, so I immediately moved to the next point, not letting him just add a spin but verbal discussions were had. And if he had persistent in just adding fluff, I would have asked the judge to strike as a non-responsive, and by staying on him like a guided missile, I forced out just the truth, and there was zero documentation, even though he clearly just didn't want to say it. And after a few more from control just exchanges like that, the jury could see that what was happening, and every fact I asked, he had to concede, but only after trying to squirm, and he looked shifty. I looked determined yet polite, and that's witness control in action. To sum up just this segment, you must be the master of what witnesses. Though just carefully crafted leading questions, patience, and a mix of firmness and politeness, you make the witness just follow your script, not theirs. And if they just fight it, their evasion just becomes a story, and that only helps you. And as one just military trial lawyer just vividly put it, you have to potty train. A difficult witness, just train them in a flimsy but without just losing your cool. And the jury will thank you for it. And just because at the end of the day, a cross-examiner who maintains control and composure just signals the jury that this is just the truth, just telling side, and just that's exactly what you want. Exposing lies and creating contradictions is the art of impeachment. So now, for the fun part, exposing the lies, And so there is where a cross-examination becomes a hide wire, just act of a skill and a strategy. And in employment case, the defense narrative just often hinges on a lie, perhaps a big lie. So we never retaliate. She was fired just purely for cause or for recollection of a smaller lies, just funny reasons, denials or of obvious facts, and etc. So your mission is to spot those lies and methodically just blow them up from in front of the jury. And we do this through the impeachment, showing that the witness has said or done something before, and that contradicts what they are just saying now. And impeachment is incredibly powerful when done right. Every time you catch a witness in contradiction, two things happen. First, the witness's credibility takes a serious hit. And the second, your credibility as a questioner just goes up, and the juror starts thinking that, wow, this plaintiff's lawyer is prepared and just finding the truth, and that witness not so much. So you essentially transfer trust from the witness to yourself with each successful impeachment. And this is why we prepare to diligently with depots and prior statements, so you have the ammo ready. Prior inconsistency statements, your best friend, and the classic form of impeachment is using just the witness' own prior words against them. And in employment litigation, that often means a deposition testimony, interrogatory answers, or documents like emails. And for example, the VP or HR testifies as a trial. So we thoroughly investigated Jane's harassment complaint, but you have your deposition where she admitted under pressure that they never spoke to two key witnesses and only did a cursory review, just bingo, and time to impeach. The technique for those not familiar is often a three-step: confirm the current testimony, credit to the context of that prior statement. You have a deposition under oath on March 3rd, and then confirm with a prior inconsistency statement. Here is just how it sounds in practice. Let's imagine. So step one is usually log them in. Miss HR, you maintain you did a thorough investigation, correct? Yes, absolutely. You want them fully committed to the lie in front of a jury. Step two, set up the previous statement. You remember giving a deposition, in this case, last March. You were just under oath and just like today, yes. And you had a chance to tell the whole truth and then correct. Yes. Step 3, the punch. I'm reading from a page 45, line 10 of your deposition question. Did you interview the two co-workers Jane identified as the witnesses? Answer. No, I didn't. Did I read that correctly at that point? Boom. And the inconsistency is laid out. Just today she claimed a thorough investigation, but earlier she admitted that she didn't just not even interview the key witnesses, Scott. And the jurors just faces will say it all. So now notice what I didn't do after that. I didn't ask, so were you lying then or are you lying now? That makes you look like a dramatic Coupe de Grace. But in reality, it's a rookie mistake. Why? Because it lets the witness explain every way a contradiction. And if you ask that, savvy witnesses just will launch into some excuse. Oh, I misspoke in my deposition, or I didn't recall those details back then, but I do now. Boom. They just muddied your beautiful contradiction. And as one expert said, so never give the witness a chance to explain away the inconsistency. And if they want to explain, let it happen to a redirect. And the inconsistency just speaks for itself if presented clearly. And the jurors are smart. They can connect the dots without spelling it out. And you lied. In effect, jurors take more ownership to the conclusion. And if they realize it themselves, that doesn't just add up, and she said one thing and before and another now. So the golden rule is impeach and then shut up. So pause and let it sink in. Maybe use a little non-verbal communication. I raised the eyebrow, a glance at the jury like, and did you hear that? And then Move on to the next topic. So they save they lied argument for a closing. And a seasoned trial profession, so once surveyed that top trial lawyers about the were you lying then or now approach. So the near unanimous just response, don't do it. So it undoes your impeachment, but by giving the witness an out, one put it simply, for proper impeachment. And I would give you the witness a chance to explain away this inconsistency and show their inconsistencies and argue it later. Juries are not at fault with, so they see the contradiction without the theatrical flourish. So resist the Hollywood moment. The quiet surgical exposure of a lie is far more devastating. Impeach on the important stuff. It's a practical tip. So don't impeach on a trivial inconsistencies. If a witness said the meeting was a Tuesday and the earlier they said on Wednesday, unless they matter to your case, so let it go. Impeach on material points. Save the jury's attention and your time for contradictions and actually just undercut the defense story or credibility. And in employment cases, that might be things like reasons for termination, whether complaints were made, who knew what and when, and discrimination remarks, so etc. So if that witness contradicts himself on a critical point, pounce. And if it's a small potatoes, you might just actually lose just a jury goodwill. And by nitpicking, as Bart Williams emphasizes, that when the inconsistencies is significant and the judge will see it clearly and it's worth the time. And if it's a pretty, you lose you risk looking, you're quibbling over nothing. And in short, so pick your battles so that each impeachment lands with impact. Document as impeachment evidence. So often the best prior statements aren't verbal statements at all. So they are documents, emails, reports, HR forms, you name it. And documents are great because they don't lie. Assume authentically isn't just in question. And they often speak louder than any testimony. For example, I had a case where the company claimed they fired the plaintiff for budget cuts, not retaliation. On cross, I got the manager to insist repeatedly that it was a financial decision, nothing personal. And then I pulled out just an internal memo and written a week after the firing, so where the same manager wrote, "We need to make an example of the plaintiff so others don't file bogus complaints." I kid you not. When I showed him the document in front of the jury, he visibly just blanched and simply asked, "So that's your email, isn't it?" And he quickly answers, "Yes." I let the jurors just read the juicy lines themselves, just blown up on the screen, and I didn't ask a further question. I just moved on, just maybe with a significant satisfied smile, and nail meat confident. And document can be used in two ways. To impeach, contradict what the witness just said, or to trap the witness into admission. Let's talk about traps using just documents or any evidence. Sometimes you can use a document not to contradict a statement, but to force the witness into one. And for instance, say an HR representative swears, "We take every harassment complaint seriously." So you have records showing that the plaintiff complaint was showed in a drawer with no investigation, and instead, to directly just impeach a possibly just a vague statement like seriously, use the document trail to corner them, just stab through it. And you receive your complaint on March 1st, correct? Yes. You emailed the VP on March 2nd. So about it, yes? And after that, you never just followed, did you? Well, there is no record of any investigation, right? No formal record, but in fact, not a single witness was interviewed. True? True. Now the trap. So when you testified, you take complaint seriously. That wasn't true. In this case, was it? Now, the last question is slightly argumentative, and I'm essentially asking them to admit they didn't just do what they claim they do. And even if a witness tries to wriggle The groundwork with the documents is done, and the jury sees policy says investigative, but they did nothing, and they show the company's stated values just versus reality, and a classic impeachment of the company's credibility. So I might accompany this with a bit of a reveal. So maybe earlier I've gotten the HR rep to extol the company's anti-discrimination policy. I favor it, just a tactic of mine. Your company has a written anti-discrimination policy, yes? And it's very important to write, yes, absolutely. And policy says that any complaint will be fully investigated, correct? Yes. Get all those yes answers on the record, and then shows how a plaintiff case they broke every one of those premises, and it's delicious. And the witness ends up with admitting all the ways they violated their own very important policies, and that's the impeachment of the witness credibility and the proof of pretext all in once. So, as an aside, this tactic of using a defendant's own policies and principles can be highly effective, and one employment litigators just guide, literally advises, just make them confirm all the ways they violated their very important policies. And it works because jury sees hypocrisy. They saw one thing, do another, and if you just can't get the witness, often an HR rep, to agree that such failures are bad, you have basically just turned them into a witness against their own side on that point. So let them lie. They drop the hammer. That's a subtle strategic question. Do you confront a lie at the first opportunity, or do you let the witness dig a deeper hole? And the answer, it depends on how confident you are in your impeachment evidence and how impactful you want the reveal to be. And the savvy cross-examiner sometimes lets the witness reiterate the lie multiple times, really committing to it, and before exposing the truth. So this is the give them enough rope strategy. Why? Because if the witness just only lied once and you immediately show it false, some jurors might miss the significance or think it was a fluke. But if the witness proudly just repeats the false story several times in detail, and then you pull on this contradictory evidence, it's devastating, and the jurors think, oh my, they lied over and over to our faces. And at that point, the witness credibility is dead on the water for everything else just they said. But one caution, this requires confidence that your evidence is unassailable and will land with maximum effect. So you have to manage the timing. So maybe you hold the big impeachment for the end of the cross, more timing soon, and it's a bit of a dramatic flourish. But when you have a smoking gun document or a prior statement that nailed the lie, so consider letting the witness talk themselves up first. For example, suppose a supervisor just wrote in the mail that we need to get rid of an older employee, but now claims in the trial age had nothing to do with the layoffs. So you might let him vehemently just deny age bias and even express how offended he is in a big suggestion, blah, 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 for a while. And the more he insists, the harder the hole. So then you casually just introduce, sir, did you recall writing an email on July 12, 2022 about the restructuring? No. Let me refresh your memory. So, and then you display the email with the damning words, and you could just hear a pin drop in the courtroom. And the key is just, of course, so don't tip him of the before you unveil it. So keep a pocket face just until the moment you present it. And speaking on unveiling, just here is a pro move I love, so borrowed from Bart Williams. Use a visual cues for the jury when you are just about to impeach. Bart uses just a bright red binder that contains a prior testimony, and he will hand out copies to opposing counsel and to the judge and at the start of the cross, but not the witness. So no advance warning under the rules. And then when it's impeachment time, it very deliberately just goes to that fire just engine, red binder, and so everyone in the courtroom sees it. And it's almost like Pavlovian. Just jurors learn, read binder, and witness is caught lying. And after a couple of impeachments, even the witness side it just tenses up, and whenever the red bind comes up, so it's psychological theatrics that reinforces the importance of those materials. And you don't need a literal red binder. So, but do consider how you signal and execute your impeachments. Look organized, be slow and methodical, almost just ceremonial when you bring out evidence to contradict, and this simplifies the impact. Finally, remember that impeachment is not just about gotcha. It's about just building your case. It's important. It's employment trials, and one of the big goals is often to show a pretext that the company's given reason is not just a real reason, and every lie or contradiction you expose is evidence or a pretext. So, for example, the boss gives 4 different reasons for firing the plaintiff, and you highlight those inconsistencies to argue this, ladies and gentlemen. If he can't keep his story straight, maybe it's because he is just hiding the true unlawful reason. Or HR says that investigated, but you show they did nothing, and that goes to willful blindness or cover up. So each impeachment isn't just about a personal attack on credibility, it's a fitting into your overall trial narrative, and the defense cannot just be trusted and out of a client's wrong. And jurors will start to see a pattern. If they lied about X, what else they lied about? And the doubt is just exactly what you need to secure a plaintiff's verdict. In summary, exposing the lies on a cross is an art of form, so you strategically deploy prior statements and documents to catch the witness in contradictions.
It's time for bed. Sleep tight.
Or you do it just on the key issues. Just you don't give them how to explain, and you let the impact just hang in the air, and each contradiction is to brick knocked out just of the defense wall, and by the end that wall can come just tumbling down. So few things in the trial are as satisfying or as persuasive as watching a witness just flounder when confronted with their own lies, and with the jury nodding along and that's a magic across examination. So we've touched on documents in the context of impeachment, but let's expand on using exhibits as a traps and just storytelling tools in employment litigation. So you often have a paper trail, just emails, performance reviews, company policies, text sometimes, video, audio, or recordings, and properly use this piece of evidence and can become your secret weapons on the cross. So they only catch your lies, as we saw, but also help you control the narrative and keep the jury engaged. So show that, don't just let. So we humans, we look to see the visuals and other creatives, and studies show that about 65% of people are visual learners, and the jurors retain for far more information just when it's presented visually in addition or to verbally. So what does it mean for cross? Whenever you can, just show the document or exhibit as you question the witness. Don't just wave a paper or a quote, just lines that only you and the witness can see. If the admissible project, just project it on a screen, or do the old school method of handling just out copies to the jurors with the court's permission. For example, if the key part of an email is a sentence where the boss says, "Let's terminate Tom. He's too old for our new direction," and display that sentence that just nice and big for everyone. Even then, just question and witness about it, and the combination of just seeing and damning words and just hearing an admission just multiple and impact. So jurors are much less likely to miss or forget a point when it's literally just before the eyes. And in short, so use the rule of 65%. If a piece of evidence is important, just make it visual. And another side benefit, so showing the documents also prevents the witness from easily lying or dodging. It's hard to deny what everyone's just know plainly, so see on the screen, and It kind of pins and just the witness down, and either by acknowledge it or just they make a fool for no of themselves, just denying reality. So it's both persuasive and control the mechanism. So bread, meat, and pre-mark, a practical tip. So get your exhibits just sorted and out ahead of time, and ideally just you worked with opposing counsel to stipulate to admissibility for as many documents as possible, so you don't have to fight over foundation during a cross. It's not useful there the earlier witnesses or your just case in chief get the documents admitted, and the last thing you want is to say, let's look at exhibit 32 and hear objections, a lack of the foundation, and then sidebar argument that kills momentum. Good cross-examination is like a rapid-fire interrogation, so you don't want to break the rhythm with evidentiary wrangles and just as one article put it, anticipate the exhibits you will need and just ensure they are at your disposal just without evidentiary dispute at a cross time. And that means pre-mark them, lay foundations in advance if needed, and just and have them readily just accessible in a courtroom. And sometimes you will use documents not just to impeach, but to tell a story in a cross. For instance, you might just chronologically walk in a hostile witness through a series of emails that show that the true sequence of events, and in the wrongful termination cases, perhaps there are emails just showing a praise for the plaintiff, and then the plaintiffs complain on discrimination, and then suddenly just emails about performance concerns, and that never existed before. Then the termination memo, so you can use the witnesses to authenticate, to explain just each one. You send this email on a June or 5th, just praising your work. Yes, she filed a complaint on a January just 10. You learned of that. Yes. On January 15, you wrote an email to HR just saying that that she was struggling. Just first time you ever said that, correct? Yes. And on February 1st, you signed off just on terminating your right? Yes. And by the end, the documents have narrative. And the tale just of retaliation is in black and white, and though the mouth of the very person denying it, and it's extremely compelling. This approach also sets up your closing beautifully, so you can literally show that timeline again is argued, just cause and effect, and the witness helped you build it. I like to call this technique just leading by documents, and you're still just asking leading questions, but each is based on a document that adds a piece to your puzzle. And it has a benefit of keeping jurors just awake too, because let's face it, listening to a series of "did you," "isn't it true," can get an abstract. Just documents give them something concrete to latch onto. Surprise with forewarning is also just very important thing. There is a balance to strike in the how and when you introduce a key documents. And if you wave a smoking gun too early, the witness might find a way to soften their stance or pre-explain it. And on the other hand, if you wait too long, you might lose the chance to authenticate just or may run out of time, and it may the witness just gets pulled off the stand. So generally, I like to admit that the witness to a position first and then reveals the document, and that surprises factor and can yield some priceless reactions. And the classic just deer in the headlights look or a stumble in a speech. So also consider theatrics and the timing. If you have a particularly just explosive exhibit, you might decide to use it as a grand final just of your cross. And the last thing is the jury hears before the witness just leaves the stand. So this trends to freeze the moment in the jurors' minds, and ideally time is near a break or adjournment, so the jurors have the image of admission just handling in their minds during the pause, and they will chat about it, just guaranteed. For example, if you have a damning HR email, I might do the rest of my cross first, get all the smaller points in, just then end with one last thing, Miss HR, so and hit her with the email when she called a plaintiff a troublemaker who needs to be taught a lesson. Once she admitted or fumbled through an excuse, I will just calmly say, no further questions, bam, and on a high tone. And the defense counsel is left to clean up or redirect, but the mess has been made. And if that happens right before a lunch or end of the day, the jurors are going to lunch just talking about it. Can you believe she wrote that email? Perfect. Using video audio, sometimes you have an audio or a video, just evidence, and just say a recording or a meeting where a boss makes a slip, just woman around just can't handle attack. And if it's admissible, using in a cross can be dramatic, and you might have the witness deny ever just saying such a thing, and then just play the recording snippet or simply play it and watch them react. So the risk of this with video is technically just issues and objections. So be very sure of admissibility and have it just queued to the exact right moment. If done it just like having an impeachment witness that can't just be refuted in their own voice. I recall a trial where an officer just denied using profanity just during an arrest, and the attorney played a body cam video where a steam of expletives just come out, and the officer's face just turned red, and that kind of undeniable proof just crushes credibility. And in employment cases, you might not often just have such recordings, but keep it in mind. If you do, voicemail, meeting, recordings, etc., and keep pacing in mind. So while using documents and exhibits, don't lose the pacing of your cross. There is a tendency to slow down just when handling papers or attack, and avoid turning your cross into just tedious documents review sessions. Be very familiar with where the key just info is on each exhibit, so you can go straight to it. Just if projecting, have slides or highlights just ready to display, you are not just silently flipping through pages on the Elm. So pacing is a keep to a juror's hooked, and the good cross has a certain momentum and tension, and the documents can enhance that tension. Or so what he about show them, but they also kill it for. You spend the minutes fumbling, so practice it with your tag and have pages marked and streamlined just and the show and tell. And in essence, so documents and exhibits and evidence are your allies in a cross-examination. So use them to trap liars, and they can't just run from their own writings, and to illustrate your points visually. So and to build an undeniable narrative brick by brick, and the witness might just out of lack, or out of charm. You interrogate, but you cannot just out-talk a piece of a written proof that you skillfully deploy. And in employment cases where so much may boil down to he said, she said, a well-used document can cut through the fog and objectively just show the truth. And when you're the one just revealing the truth to the jury, your case is persuasive, just skyrockets. Advanced tactics. So psychologically and strategically, the defense lawyers don't expect. Let's kick it up and coach beyond the fundamentals of asking just leading questions and impeaching liars. There are advanced psychological tactics and strategies, maneuvers that can give you an edge, and this kind of stuff just many defense lawyers don't see coming. And this is a chess game, as just aspect of a cross, and setting traps, manipulating the witness mindset, and timing your moves for a maximum effect. So here are some next level insights. First, the tone flip, just good cop or bad cop. Earlier we discussed starting in a courtroom tone, And one devastating tactic is to intentionally just switch tones at the right moment. So begin across in a affable, almost a friendly manner, and just lull the witnesses and the jury into a sense that this will be gentle, but get the witnesses comfortable saying yes to easy questions, and then when they lie or say something outrageous, sharpen your tone like a knife. So it's like a sudden gear, just shift that can throw the witnesses off balance, but it has to be earned and justified. For example, you're just calmly just going along them and insist, I never saw the plaintiff complain email. You know that's false. And that's your cue to narrow your issues and drop the friendliness and go into a pitbull mode. So are you really telling this jury just under oath and that you never saw this email and you practically just glown it and the key is to build it up to it so the jury senses that the witness asked for it and by lying. And this contrast makes you just righteous, just indignation, just credible. And it's a classic I was nice until you tried to deceive us move. And many defense witnesses and the lawyers don't expect that shift. They might just have a prepped for an aggressive attack from start, but delayed pounce catches them off guard, and just be mindful to modulate. So you are not going from Mr. Rogers to drill a sergeant without a cause. You are just reacting to the witness's dishonesty in real time, which is very powerful. And as one trial strategist said, that this approach helps secure the jury's permission to go after the recalcitrant witness. And they see that why you are just turning up the heat and they are just right there with you and pitchforks out. There can be also a flattery and a disarming strategy, as on the flip side, sometimes buttering up a witness yields surprising results. And imagine just a mid-level manager who is inherently evil, but is towing the company's line. If you come in hot, so they go into defensive mode and just stick to script answers, but if you engage them in almost like a friendly shot, you get them to drop their guard and actually agree with you on key points. And the plaintiff's employment lawyers just sometimes use this with HR witnesses. So you choose HR because you care about fairness, right? Yes. You believe every complaint should be taken seriously. Yes. You should never just want to see someone just retaliated against for speaking up, correct? Of course. So there are softball questions that the HR rep will gladly yes to. But guess what? You've just gotten the defendant's own witnesses to articulate the moral framework that supports your case. And let's later assume that when you show that's not what happened for your client and the jury remembers that even the HR person agrees that's wrong, it's a subtle trap. So you align the witnesses with your values, and then their failure to act by those values just damps them. And this tactic works because it's not as threatening. So the witnesses doesn't just realize they are painting themselves into a corner, but by the time they catch on, it's too late. They've handled your quotes, so you will use in the closing. Another scenario is a pompous exec witness who has a big ego, and instead of just direct confrontation, ask them to explain something technical or complex and related to the case that they love to pontificate about, and they will jump in the chance to show off and let them talk a bit just within a reason. And they feel like, I'm teaching the jury, I'm in control now. Then, just as they bask in their professional moment, you hint them with a pointed question that undercuts the narrative because they are off script and just riding an ego. And they might just blurt out an unguarded admission or adopt a conceding tone, and essentially you use their ego against them, and it's advanced, and you have to maintain control. So don't let them ramble too long. But I've seen a lot beautifully. So the witnesses think they outsmarted the lawyer by being garrulous, and then one the trap closes. Another strategic silence and drama that lawyers typically use. So we talked about using silence to force an answer, and and there is also just using pauses or dramatic effect just right after a witness says something significant. For instance, witnesses sleeps and admits, actually I did hear that slur, but I didn't just think it was a big deal. So you pause and look around just slowly, like, did everyone catch that? And without saying it, let the jury just register the admission. And it's attempting to jump on it and with the next question. So you didn't just think a racial slur with a big deal, but sometimes a bit of a silence followed by a simple, almost just disappointed, understood is stronger. Why? It shows you don't need to beat a dead horse. The point was made, it was damning. You appear confident that the jury just gets. So that confidence itself influences the jury. It's not verbal communication saying, we've got them. Timing is everything, of course. It's a so let's delve more into timing, those key moments. I've touched on ending on a high note, and this is crucial. Just never end your cross on a whimper or in a fiddling detail. So jurors have short memories for a dance in four, but they remember moments. So design your cross with the climax. It could be that big impact or a final question that neatly just ties the defense in a knot. And if the witnesses has given you something just great during a cross, and you know you have it, so consider wrapping up just right there. And even if you have more questions on your outline, so it's hard to do because you prepped so much. But as they saying goes, when you've made your point, sit down. Just Irving Younger preached. So this is just one of the 10 commandments. Just stop when you're ahead. Also, if you can orchestrate when the jury just certain into do it. So, for example, if a witness just cross-exam is likely to snap a brick, plan what question will land right before that brick. And judges will often just break at a natural stopping points, but sometimes you can just politely ask your honor, may we break after that this sequence of questions? And if you know something huge is coming, just be careful not to telegraph it in the front of the jury. If time tried, jurors walk out of the courtroom just buzzing about the exchange that just happened rather than just forgetting it in a long stretch of a testimony. Another thing is still in the punchline. So make your point now, not later. Usually we have pure arguments for a closing, but sometimes you can embed an argumentative point into a cross question. And a tactic Bart Williams endorses as long as you don't care about the answer. So, for instance, Mr. Expert, isn't that true? You say one thing in your academic articles, but sometimes quite different. So here is in the court about a paid by defense. So we know the expert will protest and explain, but by asking, you've delivered the message to the jury just right now. And this is a guy is hired just who contradict himself, but for money, and the jurors hears it. It's in a moment and tied to evidence and his articles with testimony. And instead of just waiting for a closing where just weeks later you followed out with something like, you can't just point it to the article where you wrote the opinion. So you just gave here, can you? And he will just stammer about a different context or whether, but the damage is done. So the contrast is drawn, and the beauty is, even if an objection comes, objection argumentative, so sometimes the question alone, if it gets out, just plants the seed, and And if the judge allows it within the scope, you effectively just court a mini closing argument under the guise of a question and use it just sparingly, just and on the big ticket points and like a bias or of an expert or a party witness hypocrisy. And it's a way to drive your them home through the cross. Just remember, Bard's caveat. So only do it when a specific answer just doesn't matter because you expect a denial or a rehearsed answer. So you're not seeking new info, you're delivering a message. Handling meltdowns or theatrics, just occasionally hostile witnesses will get emotional, anger, tears, outrage, and each poses a strategic consideration. If they get angry or snarky at you, generally that's good. As long as you stay calm, a witness just arguing with a cross-examiner usually just looks bad to the jury, and just methinks too doth, just protest too much, and lets them vent a little. The jury just seems the demeanor, and if they go too far, gentle. I understand this is difficult, but I need you to answer my question. Makes use a reasonable voice, and if a witness just cries, say your cross hits a nerve, you must tread carefully. You don't want to look like a bully picking on someone just sobbing. Another thing is you should preempt defense's moves. Defense attorneys may object or try to disrupt your flow, especially if you are just scoring points, and they might use speaking objections or ask for sidelines and frequently just to throw you off or to signal the witness to slow down. So this is another just trick, and you should be very careful with this. And one more thing, just is that most defense attorneys just don't expect a plaintiff's lawyer who genuinely just enjoys a cross-examination and excludes confidence during it. Many plaintiff's attorneys don't get many trials as so defense counsel, and bank on you just being unsteady or just overly cautious and prove them wrong. Take a charge with a sharp, controlled demeanor and deploy these tactics and even just throw them in a bit of humor or irony when appreciated. And if a witness just says something absurd, raised eyebrow, and just seriously, that's your testimony. And if the judge permits, can draw a chuckle just from the jury and as the witness expands. So just a touch of wit can make the jury just smile and just further align with you, just thinking that we are on a smart, skeptical team, and with the lawyer on your just galloping team with that witness. So cross-examination, especially in employment litigation, is truly an art of a science and a masterclass in exposing truth. So we're joined through that full 30-minute tour of tactics, from meticulous preparation to a commanding witness control, to the electrifying moments of impeachment and contradiction, so to the clever use of documents and psychological gambits that give you an edge, but and of course, by now you've heard how plaintiff's attorney can methodically just dismantle a lying witness and turn the courtroom dynamic in your favor. That's it.